Hey guys, how's it going? We've got a different setup today. Okay, this is just bare bones me talking to a mic with like a white background and my dog making weird sounds in the background. We're just gonna do it the old fashioned way. Today we're gonna be talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Now this is a movie where my expectations for it were basically gravel low, like super low. And the reason for that, I mean, it's a mix of things. The last one wasn't very good. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I know this a little bit of a revisionist, oh no, it was actually great. Was it? I don't know. I'm planning to rewatch it, but the few times that I've watched it, I was not impressed. Okay, you still had a bit of an Indiana Jones experience. At the time, I thought Harrison Ford was maybe too old, but he kind of pulled it off totally in that movie. And you had some good actors in there. You had Ray Winstone, you had freaking John Hurt, you had Kate Blanchett killing it in that movie. Aliens, gotta love Aliens. I'm down for anything Spielberg has got going with Aliens. Like I'm totally down for that. I didn't actually mind the whole alien plot in that. A lot of people had a problem with that. I was just like, I'm fine with it. People hated Mutt Williams, the Shia LaBeouf character. I didn't mind that character too much. It was just a poorly used character, and Shia LaBeouf is not the most likable guy, but I thought the character wasn't too bad. There were some good action scenes in that movie, some bad ones. It was good to see Marion again. There were some positives to that movie. It's Spielberg doing it with George Lucas, so it feels legit. And then there was this movie, which no Spielberg, no George Lucas except an executive producer in name only, basically. Harrison Ford, now very old. Let's be real. He's like 80 years old. Now, at this point, I was just like, okay, I don't know if he's going to pull it off this time. Okay, he's a great actor. Harrison Ford is, he's the star of my favorite movie, Blade Runner. Okay, love the man. He's amazing. But 80-year-old Harrison Ford, 80-year-old Indiana Jones. I don't know if that's going to work without Spielberg at all. Pretty much. George Lucas not involved. I don't know about this. Then I saw the trailers, and I was just like, this looks terrible. Because the CG looked really off in a lot of shots of what they released in the trailer. And I can tell you right now, if some of the CG in the trailer looked really bad to you, it's going to look bad on the big screen, all right? Because I thought maybe, you know what? Maybe the trailer, you see some people on Twitter saying, yeah, it's unfinished. The effects are unfinished, guys. They're releasing the trailer, but they're still going to work on it. It's true that they do keep working on it, but half the time it's like they don't have time to refine it perfectly. So if you see it like in the second trailer and it still looks like shit, it's gonna look like shit. And it did. Yeah, so I was worried watching those trailers. I was just like, I was not feeling it. Even the jokes in the trailer didn't seem very good. It was just kind of a poorly cut trailer, honestly. They looked like there was gonna be some nice shots. I want to see this movie. Okay, I love Indiana Jones. The original trilogy is freaking perfect. I wish they hadn't continued them. But what are you gonna do if the movies do well? And this one did not do well, by the way. Dial of Destiny is the only, as far as I know, is the only Indiana Jones film to fail really hard. And that was like, I thought about James Mangold, which is a hilarious name to have. Mangold. Love it. He's got kind of a patchy kind of filmography, right? He's got some cool stuff like Copland in there. Copland's awesome. Girl Interrupted's really good. He's got Walk the Line is solid. Identity's pretty good. Then you've got stuff like Night and Day, which was lacking. And then you've got like The Wolverine, which was frankly terrible. But then you have Logan, which was amazing. So it's just like, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. I knew he was a solid director, like they got someone good. Like they didn't get some crappy director to do it. It could have gone either way, really, with James Mangold. But I was like, you know what? He's okay. The cast, you got Harrison Ford, you got freaking John Rhys Davis is back. I didn't know before going to see the film if Marion was going to be back, Karen Allen. I didn't know, if anybody else was going to be back from the old franchise. The kind of youngifying of Harrison Ford I was worried about. Like, that was my main worry. I was like, if the whole movie, because I knew there was gonna be some going back in time kind of deal. Okay, uh, I was worried that it was gonna be just like Indiana Jones going to different time periods, like freaking Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and just looking like CG as fuck like the whole time. The movie surprised me by not doing that. Actually, most of the film is old man Harrison Ford, which is great because at least you're looking at a real person for the most part. Like sometimes it's CG old man Harrison Ford, not good at all. But I literally just want to see Harrison Ford. Like I don't want to see like a CG rendition of Harrison Ford. And I'll the movie opens with that. Okay, CG youngified Harrison Ford, and it's a scene that apart from that is really good. Like it's a good scene. There's some really nice shots in there, and actually James Mangold does a decent enough job to kind of not so much replicate, but like evoke the style and vibe of a Spielberg movie. So he does a good job with that, and it doesn't necessarily feel like an impression at the same time. He kind of does his own thing as well. Sorry, my hand looked really big there. Ooh, spooky hand. But no, he does a good job, directing this movie and making it feel like an Indiana Jones film, And honestly, like Spielberg directed Crystal Skull, and the CG in that was rough a lot of the time, especially during the jungle chase sequence and the freaking aliens at the end. It's not like Spielberg is infallible, like he's amazing, like he's Steven Spielberg, but there's certain things that sometimes there's a little mistake here and there. He's a human being. So James Mangold, it was a tough job. Like honestly, like if someone is just like, hey James, can you make a movie where like Harrison Ford's like 80 years old but somehow still Indiana Jones, and we're gonna market it as like a full-on action movie. Can you make that for us? James Mangold. And also we want time travel in there. Like James Mangold must have been like, fuck. I mean, I guess. Can I write it at least? Can I do? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Like knowing he's gonna completely fail. But actually the script as well is kind of solid. And I think the only thing, not the only thing, that's not true. There are two things holding this movie together. Okay, you've got James Mangold's direction and writing, which is solid, both of which are solid. Harrison Ford. Dude, this has got to be like I can't believe Harrison Ford pulled off 2 old man Indiana Jones movies. How do you do that? I'll tell you how. By being Harrison freaking Ford. Amazing actor. And the great thing about Harrison Ford is that he doesn't have to do much acting-wise to really grab you. Like, he knows exactly which buttons to push. He's actually a surprisingly subtle actor. Every time I think, oh, you know what, he's past it, he's too old. No, he's kind of nailing the shit. It's the kind of same as De Niro as well. Like Robert De Niro, sometimes I'm like, he's way too old now. But then in like a movie like Joker, freaking knocked it out of the park. He was like amazing in that. He's like the unspoken, like really good performance of that movie. And he does an amazing job here. He goes all out, like he even goes topless in this movie. Okay, I didn't need to see that. But it's fine. I mean, it's old man Indiana Jones. He's old. Like, this movie doesn't hide the fact that he's old, except for the parts where, weirdly, it's kind of hiding it. Where it's CG Harrison Ford, which I hate. So, yeah, I mean, the movie does open with a lot of dodgy CG in a row. Like, I know people tell you, no, the CG on Harrison Ford in these early scenes is actually, like, top of the line. It looks like shit. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. It barely looks like him sometimes. The mouth movements are weird. Every time he turns his head, it's like half of his face is like 2D. It just doesn't look good, guys. I'm sorry. I know they tried very hard. And he's got an old man voice as well. They didn't even alter his voice at all. And if they did a horrible job with it. So you've got this like weird looking freaking cartoon version of Harrison Ford. They didn't really match the eyes very well as well, like the emotion in the eyes, because you see Harrison Ford for the rest of the movie act, and he's amazing. But for some reason, when he's CG, he's terrible. Yeah, like the mouth, it just looks like a video game. It does not look right. and it's a huge shame. I mean, they tried to youngify Mads Mikkelsen as well, and that didn't look good either. Whenever there is CG on Harrison Ford when he's an old man, like when he's on the horse, like that whole sequence, horrible. Like the CG in that's horrible. So it's literally just whenever it's just actually Harrison Ford, it's great. Like, I love it. But when it's CG, it's bad. And, at least I respect the fact that they kind of get all the crappy CG out of the way in the first act. Like, the first act in general is pretty shaky. Like, the first scene is well done, but again, it's kind of ruined by this dodgy CG. But the story is interesting. The writing is solid. Harrison Ford's performance is very good. Even Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I'm not a huge fan of. I don't really know who she is, I'm not going to lie. She's a comedian? I don't know. She's fine in it. Like, she's okay. I mean, the character is interesting enough. Like, I didn't mind her in this movie. You got Antonio Banderas in there, who's fine. Like, he doesn't have too much to do, but he's in there. Toby Jones is great. Mads Mikkelsen, it's hard to play a more convincing bad guy than Mads Mikkelsen. He just has this face, I mean, the guy played Hannibal, Le Chiffre. I mean, he's amazing in this movie. Like, the guy, Mads Mikkelsen playing a Nazi, I could see that. Yeah. I mean, he's incredible. Like, really good villain in this movie. Yeah, I mean, this is a very important thing for an Indiana Jones film to have. You gotta have a really good villain. As much as I like Cate Blanchett in Crystal Skull, she's not a particularly good villain. Like, when I think back to that movie, I'm like, I barely remember her. Like, she does a couple of karate kicks at the beginning. She's a communist. That's about it. Like, I don't remember any specific. Like, Mads Mikkelsen has a real presence in this movie, and he's a very good villain. I like the vibe of this movie. I liked a lot of things about this movie. I like the pacing of it. The action scenes are well done. Yeah, it really is just if you love Indiana Jones, you just gotta get past the first act of the movie, which kind of gives you a lot of the exposition, a lot of the crappy CG, and all that stuff. And yeah, it's a little bit shaky. Once you get past that, it actually is like a really fun adventure. I had a good time. Watching this movie. I really didn't expect I'd have I thought I was gonna be super bored. And I believe, isn't this like the last score of John Williams? Did I read that correctly somewhere? Maybe. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, you're getting that Indiana Jones experience. One of the things I appreciate about this movie is that it didn't feel too forced. It wasn't just like, hey, remember this from Indiana Jones? There's a couple of callbacks, but they're done in a subtle enough way, and they're presented at a moment where you kind of needed something like that. John Rhys Davis, feels like an evolution of Salah. It feels like, yeah, I believe that Salah would have like moved to the US, using kind of Indy's help, and he's kind of like, he really wants to get back out there, but he's probably not going to. He's got like a family and everything. At the beginning of the film, I was kind of like, I don't know if, I like that they basically destroy everything that happened at the end of Crystal Skull, where Indiana Jones gets married, and obviously he has a son, where they kind of destroy all of that. But at the same time, it made for an interesting layer to the story that they were telling. So by the end, I was kind of into it. Like, I really didn't mind that at all. You got some cool locations in the movie. Like, Indiana Jones goes all over the map, literally. And the ending of this movie is nuts, and I love it. I love the ending of this movie. It's bold. It's ridiculous, but it's awesome. It's kind of awesome, let's be real. I don't even want to tell you what it is. But basically, the end of this movie goes completely out of its mind. And I just really like that. I just like that. And not in the same way as Crystal Skull, which also at the end of the movie, you're like, what the hell is happening? But it's Crystal Skull, they didn't do it right, basically. They just had like the aliens going, and they tried to replicate what happened in Raiders, and they just felt insincere. It didn't look very good. There was that nice shot of Indy looking at like the spaceship flying, which I actually really liked. But here it's like the whole third act is some crazy shit, and I thought it was bold, crazy stuff. I enjoyed it. I had fun with that. And honestly, like, I thought the story was surprisingly engaging and the dialogues were not, as cringy as I thought they were going to be. Maybe there's a couple of jokes in there that don't really hit, but I don't remember even, like, rolling my eyes too much. People made a whole thing about, like, the capitalism line, but it really is kind of a throwaway line. Even the character who says this line is just kind of like throwing it out there as just like, this is a dumb thing. I'm just throwing it out, but it's not like, people are just like, they see the trailer, they're like, oh my god, it's one of those. But the movie is literally just an Indiana Jones film, and it's you know what? They didn't fuck it up, and I'm blown away by just that. Now, personally, I would have gone for a smaller film. For the final adventure of Indiana Jones, I would have gone for like a lower key kind of deal where it's really just gonna Harrison Ford maybe in a room, like speaking to a Nazi that's like torturing him, and that's the whole film. And then at the end, of course, like he escapes and kicks some ass. But Disney went all out on this. Like, they spent like up to like $400 million, and it's not even close. Like, they're never gonna get there. Disney's just like throwing money down the drain, Why? I mean, not that the movie is doing horribly. It's doing kind of. It's still sort of. No, it's not really making. Like, there's no way it could ever make a profit with an old man Indiana Jones film. There's no way. Like, I don't see what they were thinking. It's earned a lot of money. It's just like, it's such a high bar. How could they ever reach it? But yeah, so it is a bomb. Unfortunately, it failed at the box office. Not that there were gonna be any others anyway. So they were probably like, let's just freaking try and tell a good story, and then maybe people down the line will love it. I don't know. I was surprised. I enjoyed this movie. It was kind of fun. It's a long movie, but I wasn't bored watching it. The pacing was pretty good. Characters were decent. I mean, I would have liked to see other characters in I would have liked to see. I really thought Short Round was going to be in this. I don't know why, but I would have brought back a couple of characters. But you know what? You really didn't need them. You've got a few characters that they brought back, and it was pretty cool. They could have screwed it up, and they didn't. And James Mangold, good job. That's all I can say. Like, you did your best. The CG is this movie's Achilles heel. It's really what brings the movie down. I wonder if one day there can be like a cut of this movie where they kind of fix up the CG a little bit, and just kind of touch it up, make it look real good. I'm sure we'll get there one day, maybe with the help of AI, because clearly, CG, like the mouth movements, is still it's not there yet, and it's been years that they've been trying to get it right. I think we're gonna need a little help. But yeah, I mean, it's a good story. I think that's really what saves this movie. Good story. Harrison Ford, I thought he was really not gonna give a shit in this movie, but he really like delivers the emotion effortlessly. Like, just Harrison Ford's a great actor. What are you gonna do? Yeah, I like this movie. It was fun, funny, entertaining, cool story, insane ending. I kind of dig it. Obviously, I wouldn't put this movie as like one of the best Indiana Jones movies. I think it's, I would put it above Crystal Skull, but it's not a patch on the original trilogy. Let's be real, like the original trilogy is another level entirely. But this movie was okay. Like, it was an okay blockbuster. It was an okay Indiana Jones film. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. It was a good time at the movies. So if you're gonna see this movie, I would actually recommend go see it in the theater. Go see it on the big screen. Try to get past the first act. I think you can do it. Harrison Ford will carry you through. His performance will carry you through. And yeah, just keep an eye on that story. It's pretty good. It's it takes bits and pieces from old Indiana Jones kind of stories, but it does its own thing. And like I said, it's all kind of worth it just for that ending. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope it wasn't too bare bones for you guys. I don't have any fancy lights or anything, but every so often you gotta get back to monkey, and that's what I tried to do with this review. So thank you for listening, watching, vibing. I will be back with a couple more movie reviews. I belong in a museum. That's the truth of it.